Welcome back once again, Knicks fans. I'm doing a different kind of video today. This is Julius versus Joker. Yes, I'm comparing Julius Randle to the Joker, last year's NBA MVP. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, it's good to kind of get an idea of where Julius is at compared to the best talent in the league. And we want to be able to do that because we want to be able to see, how realistic is it for us to think that Julius Randle is going to be able to carry us a lot further in the playoffs, right? And so it's definitely important for us to basically to be able to compare Julius to other players in the league. And so that's why I'm comparing him to Nikola Jokic. In some ways, they're a little similar. They're both big men. They both make a lot of plays for their teams. Although Nikola Jokic, I am going to say he's a much better. I'm not. He's not a much better player. He is a better player than Julius Randle. But the case I'm going to make today is the fact that Julius Randle is not that far away from Nikola Jokic. But Jokic, the Joker, is a better player than Julius Randle is at the moment. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start down here looking at the stats of both players. And we're going to go from left to right. And of course, Julius plays for our team, the Knicks, and Jokic plays for Denver. Win percentage, Joker has 60. His team is 65%. The Knicks are about 57%. Joker plays 72 games. Julius plays 71. They both average. Well, Joker had 10.8 rebounds. Julius averaged 10.2. Julius averaged 6 assists a game. Joker averaged about 8.3. I don't know if there's anything Julius can do to catch up to the Joker as far as being a playmaker. Joker just drops dimes. I've seen him play quite a few times, and it just comes very natural to him. I've actually watched a lot of tape of Julius, especially from 2020, 2021. He's a lot more of a thoughtful playmaker than I gave him credit for. However, uh, it just comes really natural to the Joker. Although Julius also does a really good job orchestrating and making plays for his teammates. Julius Randle averaged less than one steal a game. Joker averaged 1.3. Julius averaged zero point 0.3 blocks. Joker zero point 0.7. However, so I would take this with a grain of salt. Actually, don't be deceived by this number because Julius is actually a much better defender than the Joker is. In my opinion, he's a much better defender. Also, the stats are going to bear that out too. We're going to look at the defensive rating, and the defensive rating is going to clearly tell you who the better defender is. Julius averaged 3.4 assists. Joker averaged 3.1. Now, Julius Randle, I think he needs to work on his turnovers. Joker averages about three turnovers a game as well. However, Joker basically averages over 8 assists a game. Julius only averages 6, which is more like 5.9 assists a game. And so his assist to turnover ratio is actually less than 2, while Joker's is above 2. So Julius, although his usage rate is less than Joker's, and Joker averages is basically scoring more points and making more plays for his teammates. Julius is averaging more assists, so Julius is less productive as a result of the turnovers he's committing. Now, Julius averaged 24 points while the Joker averaged 26. True shooting is 57% for Julius, and Joker is 66% true shooting. The offensive rating is 111 for Julius, and Joker is 132. Now, the reason why the offensive rating is so low is because Julius' true shooting percentage, and we're going to talk about that. The true shooting percentage for Julius is 57%. The league average is about 57.2%. Julius is actually less than 57. He's more like 56.9. And so this is rounded up to 57. And so Joker is just a much more efficient offensive player, and that shows up in the offensive rating. Now, Julius can just improve his efficiency on the offensive end. I mean, I think he has a shot to catch up with the Joker as far as being as good or as lethal as an offensive threat as the Joker is. There's not that much Julius has to work on the offensive end, but we'll definitely go through it together, and so I can show you guys exactly what Julius needs to work on. The net defensive rating is 107 for Julius, 110 for Joker. Like I said, Julius is a better defensive player than the Joker is. The net rating is 4 for Julius, 22 for the Joker. Excuse me. Now, this stat over here is basically correlation. Is basically the correlation of net rating and the point differential. And so what it is just looking at the relationship it looks at the relationship between Julius's net rating for each game and the team's performance for that game. And so I gathered all the statistics for all the games last year for both players and to do this test. And so this is the score that I came up with for each player. Julius was 72% and Joker is 74. So essentially means like, uh, there's a higher relationship between Joker's performance and their team's performance than Julius' performance and the Knicks' performance. Although both players it's really high. Um, Although both players are really high, Joker's is higher. And Joker's is a lot more impressive too because Joker is a lot more basically contributes a lot more to the team than Julius is contributing because Joker has a much more better offensive rating than Julius does. The reason why this correlation statistic is, it's helpful to look at because it's high doesn't necessarily mean that it's a great thing, right? And so if you think about it, the Denver Nuggets got knocked out in the second round. They actually got swept, right? So when you have one player where the correlation is so high, where basically the team's performance is so dependent on this one person's performance, I mean that could be a problem. Yes, the good thing about it for Joker is like it makes it easier to prove that he deserved the MVP award because not only is he one of the most impactful players in the league, but you can show that it directly leads to his team's performance and to the team winning a lot of ball games. However, when it got into the playoffs, what that means is when it comes playoff time, if you're able to slow down Nikola Jokic, that means the team is going to suffer a lot, and then they're not going to be able to recover. And so, if you look at other players like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Giannis in my opinion, is a much better player than the Joker is a more dominant player than the Joker is. But if you look at the relationship between Giannis's performance and the team's performance, I think Giannis is only somewhere in the 50s, maybe 53%. And that means the Bucks have a much better team, a much well-rounded team. However, because the Joker is so efficient, he's able to get his team a lot further. He was able to get past the first round and get into the second round. But like I said again, when the correlation is this high, when the team is this dependent on your performance, um, the team is going to suffer as they get further into the playoffs as the competition gets a little tighter. The same if you look at the Knicks. The Knicks basically there's a high correlation between Julius Randle's performance and the Knicks' performance. And Julius Randle, his net rating is only 4. Like I said, it's mostly because of the offense. So, I mean, it's no surprise the team suffered in the playoffs, especially first round versus the Hawks. We essentially got swept. And that was because the Hawks, all they had to do was slow Randle down. If they're able to slow him down, and he's not that efficient anyway, and so he's not going to be very difficult to slow down. So once you slow him down, the Knicks are going to fall very easy. So that's essentially, that's what this correlation statistic describes here. It's although basically it helps show how important you are to the team, it's not always the higher it is. It's not always a good thing, in my opinion. You want this correlation statistic to be lower. You should not. It should not be this high for any individual player. At least if the team wants to win a championship. So this number over here is the same thing as the correlation statistic. We just turned it into a whole number, and then this here that says RK is actually abbreviation for rank. This is actually a score, and so what I did here, I added this whole number, this correlation statistic here to the net rating to come up with this new score. And so when you compare both the final score, Nikola Jokic still comes out on top and was still a better player than Julius Randle. Now, we're going to take a look at why Julius Randle is not as efficient as Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic, I'm not really going to look at his shot chart or anything like that, but he's efficient at all levels. He finishes at a high clip at the paint, mid range, even from three. Julius Randle is a much better 3 point shooter than Nikola Jokic is. I think I think Nikola Jokic is 38% from three. Julius is 41%. So he's a better 3 point shooter. But that's not Julius's issue. Like I said, Julius's issue, believe it or not, is his mid-range shots and the long twos that he takes. So Julius Randle basically loves to take the long twos and he loves to take it off the dribble. He also loves to take three-pointers off the dribble. The funny thing about it, though, is he shoots the three-pointers at 41%. The long twos that he loves to take off the dribble, he's shooting it at 41% as well. So it's actually, as crazy as it sounds, it's better for him to actually not take the long two and to just take the long three. The other issue that Julius Randle has is his mid range game. And so this here is a shot chart for Julius Randle. And this game was for Sacramento versus the Knicks. And if you see here, Julius Randle, he doesn't have much of an issue finishing at the paint, but he doesn't take enough shots in the paint or at the rim. And so one thing the Knicks can do is actually work on getting Julius Randle more shots at the rim, even if there's a man on him. Julius Randle, most of the shots he takes at the rim, there's usually a hand in his face. He usually takes a man to the hole and finishes over the man, or usually it's a rebound that he gets. And so a lot of it is usually putbacks, or he takes a man to the hole, and so there's always a hand in his face. And even though he's finishing in traffic, he finishes at around 67%. The league average is around 64% last year. But Julius just doesn't take enough shots at the rim, in my opinion. So they need to increase the amount of shots he takes at the rim. On top of that, too, the rest of the team is not very good at finishing at the rim. I think Derrick Rose is the only other person who finishes at a higher, at a decent rate at the rim. Last year, including this year, this new season, we don't have a lot of great finishers at the rim. Kemba Walker's not a great finisher at the rim. RJ Barrett is a terrible finisher at the rim. RJ Barrett shoots like 20% at the rim. It's last year he was shooting like a low clip, maybe like high 30s at the rim, maybe mid 30s at the rim. This year in the preseason so far, I think he's shooting in the 20s, maybe like high 20%, like 28, 29% at the rim. Um, Trying to think who else. Mitchell Robinson, we just got him back, so he's out. He finishes well at the rim, so maybe they can focus on getting him the ball more at the rim. But in terms of Julius Randle, I think they should focus on him getting more shots at the rim as well. So in this game, he did pretty decent finishing in the paint. His mid range and the long twos were off, and so that's where I think he needs to focus on. A lot of his mid range and long twos, he takes those shots off the dribble quite often. And so the long twos, I just think obviously he should eliminate it. Coach Thibodeau actually before the season began even talked about the team eliminating long twos. He did not say Julius Randle's name when he talked about that, but I think that's who they had in mind. Most of this preseason, the first three preseason games, he only took one long range two. And today, the last preseason game that they played against the Wizard, I think he took two of them. And so it's something they want to take a look at and really be careful of. Because as you see here, with this one, he shot 20% from the long two, and he shot 67% from three. So it's just something they need to be mindful of and he needs to work on. And in terms of like the mid range, he likes to shoot off the dribble on the mid range. I think they need to maybe work with him on possibly taking shots without actually taking a dribble. He has a very high release, and he jumps every time he shoots. So maybe it's a good idea for him to maybe jab step and then shoot instead of going off the dribble. I think he does it to get a nice rhythm, and also possibly gives him the optionality of passing the ball to an open man. But I think they need to have him mix it up a little bit, where when he gets the ball either in the wing high post, Instead of actually taking a dribble, he just turns around, jab steps, and just shoots. I think that may help him improve his efficiency quite a bit. They need to do something to improve it because so far, the preseason games that they've played this year so far, he's still performing at the same level he performed last year, and at in the mid range and also from the long two. And unfortunately, that's a little disappointing. And in order for us to be able to go further and to do better, Julius Randle needs to be more efficient from the mid range. It just has to happen. If he's not more efficient from the mid range, the Knicks are not going. I don't think they're going to go much further. It's possible they make it to the second round if we make it to second round if we're lucky, but I don't see us going very far in the playoffs unless he becomes more efficient at the mid range, or he just needs to start taking more shots at the rim. If he doesn't do one or the other, the Knicks are not going to do very well in the playoffs this year. He's going to probably, there's a high likelihood we're going to be in and out first round, or if we get lucky and get to the second round, we're going to get bounced out in the second round as well. Same thing here. This is Phoenix versus New York. Same thing for Julius Randle. He shoots better from three, but yeah, he's taken 6 long range shots. And he only shot 33% from there. In the paint, he shot 1 of 4. Again, it's something he needs to work on. He likes to shoot off the dribble, even in the paint and the mid range. Maybe work on just getting the ball, turning around, and just shooting it. Like I said, he has a high release point, and he jumps when he shoots. Why not just do that instead of going off the dribble and then shooting? Because I think that is an issue for him. Because if you notice, he turns over the ball quite a bit when he goes off the dribble. He averages 3.5 turnovers a game, and a lot of times his turnovers are just like him dribbling the ball off his feet. And so if he's dribbling the ball off his feet, it's possible he sort of has issues basically when he's going off the dribble, picking up the ball and shooting. Although he's good off the dribble, but there's a strong possibility he could be a lot better if he doesn't take a dribble. If he just turns around and shoots the ball. So this was an anomaly. He was all one at the rim, only one shot at the rim. But again, I feel like he needs to take more shots at the rim. The Knicks really need to find a way to get him more shots at the rim. That's the only way we're going to be a lot more efficient on the offensive end. If he doesn't get more shots at the rim, and if we just don't get more people getting shots at the rim, we're just not going to be. We're going to struggle this year, especially in the playoffs. Here's another. Here's another one. This is New York versus Philadelphia. Julius Randle as well. So from 3-point in, so 1 of 3 from the 3-point line. He shot worse from long two and mid range. Same thing in the paint. He's struggling in the paint. At the rim, he went 4 of 6. So now, I know he probably, like I said, he's not going to eliminate the mid range, but he's got to change his approach at the mid range. So I don't want to belabor the point. We'll move on. And same thing here. This is another example. Look at this one. 3 of 6 from 3. Long range and mid range, he goes 2 of 13. In the paint, he goes 2 of 2. And there was no shots at the rim. And so these are the things, again, that they really need to work on. Hopefully, the Knicks really work on this and, try to hammer this home. It's just something they really should do. And they have to do it if they're going to be better. If not, they're just not going to be as very good. Even the great 3-point shooting teams, from back in the day, like the Phoenix Suns, they never get very far. They make it sometimes the second round, but that's as far as they go. They may get to the conference finals if they're lucky, but then they get bounced out. All the great teams, they're not just 3-point shooters. They can also finish very well at the rim. Like the Golden State Warriors, people think because Thompson and Curry. They're phenomenal 3-point shooters. They shoot 43% from 3. But Curry keeps the defenders crazy off balance. And he's always attacking. He attacks the rim quite often. And so people don't really pay attention to that. He has an excellent handle. and he's able to attack the paint very effectively. And so that's what and he's able to finish at a high clip at the rim too. So it's that's what makes them so special and so effective. They're not just 3 point shooters; they also get a lot of shots at the rim as well. So I have a video I just wanted to go through. It kind of shows a little bit of Julius Randle. Like I said, in the paint, he's pretty good finishing in the paint. He's usually he takes his man to the hole and finishes. So he's always finishing with a hand in his face. This one was an and one. This one he gets the ball in the paint. I think he spins baseline, goes off the bank, and finishes. This one he goes coast to coast. Kind of loses, bobbles the ball a little bit, but he's able to finish, and it was an and one. With this one here, he gets the ball and goes directly to the paint. Collins couldn't do anything to stop him. I mean, he's just like, when he goes to the rim, he's pretty difficult to stop. He's not extremely athletic. He doesn't like have a high lift, but I think he can do pretty well finishing at the rim. He also has this mid range. He got the ball. He just shot it. He made it. This one he went directly to the basket. Was able to finish. He's also really good at shooting 3 pointers off the dribble. A lot of his 3 pointers are off the dribble. So are the long twos. So that's why, it just makes sense for him to just shoot 3 pointers. Eliminate the long twos and just focus on those threes. Here's another close up of that. This game, I remember this game. This was like essentially tied the game. So we went into overtime. He's an excellent shooter from three. He's been really impressive from downtown, and I think hopefully it continues this year. And I think he just should keep focusing on it, eliminate the twos, and focus on more on the threes, and focus on being able to get to the basket. And I also have some shots of also have some where I show him basically. Basically where he struggles sometimes, especially going off the dribble, from the long twos, or even sometimes from the mid range. So obviously he's still going off the dribble here from three. This here is from block. He's able to hit this one as well. Julius from three. It's just he did really well shooting from three last year. And so far, he's shooting pretty well from three this year as well. Okay, with this one here, he shot it with a hand in his face. This, he goes to the basket. This is the playoffs, mid range, off the dribble. He had a few people shadowing him, and he will miss the shot. And so this is the ones we're trying to I would like to see him eliminate more of. Uh, a lot of the mid-range shots where he's going off the dribble. There's a few people shadowing him, and then he takes the shot anyway. It's like I think he should try to eliminate some of those shots, or just like I said, just instead of going off the dribble, just basically jab stepping and just taking a shot. And so that's pretty much it. He does struggle going off the dribble, especially from mid range. Like I said, within 16 feet, I think he shot 43%, and between 16 feet and the 3 point line, he shot 41%, and then 41% from three. And so again, I think I said it a few times. From the mid range, maybe eliminate the going off the dribble, and then just totally eliminate the shots where he's taken from 16 feet to the 3 point line. And so down here is I should have went through this before I got into Julius's shot chart, but this here is essentially I plotted out. This was essentially the net rating and the point differential plotted out like on a scatter plot. and essentially it kind of highlights the relationship there is between both data sets, right? And so for Julius Randle anyway, and also for Nikola Jokic. And so as you see, the higher the net differential for Julius Randle, uh, the higher the point differential is. So the point differential is like the team basically when they win a ball game, they win by like 2 points, 3 points, or whatever it might be. That's the point differential. If we lose by either 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points. And so basically, essentially, what this here is telling you, if you see here, all these dots are going from the lower left up to the right. So that means as Julius Randle, as his basically net rating increases, so does the team's performance. So does that differential. So that's essentially what it means. And so it's the same thing with Nikola Jokic. It's like you look here, the scatter plot for both players is essentially the same. However, like I said, uh, having a high correlation between one player's net rating and the team's performance is not necessarily a good thing. It's not a good recipe. It's not a great recipe for success, especially in NBA basketball. You really want the correlation to be a lot lower because you don't want your team to be solely dependent on one player. Like I said, if you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, you look at the correlation for their players. I don't think there's any player where the correlation is above 60%. At least not like any of the starters or main players. It's all below 60%. They're all like in the 50s or even lower. That's because they're a very well-rounded team. There's a lot of times in that playoffs when Giannis when they wall him off from being able to get inside and he can't really score anymore. Middleton takes over, you know. Um, so it's not just it's not just about one player. When you have one player that the team is solely dependent on, it's not always a good thing for the team. It might be great for the player because that means like individual accolades like MVP awards, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's a good recipe for the team's success. So, guys, that is the analysis that I have. That's what I think Julius Randle needs to improve to be able to catch up with Nikola Jokic. Just wanted to show that they're not that far apart. Like I said, they're kind of similar players. Jokic is a better passer, definitely a more efficient player on the offensive end. And I showed what Julius Randle needs to do in order to improve his offensive efficiency to catch up with Jokic. And you can definitely see it here. Julius true shooting is 57. Jokic is like basically almost 10 points higher. And just because of 10 points, a 10 point differential in true shooting percentage, that leads to about, you know, what is that, like a 21 point differential in offensive rating. And so if Julius Randle can just improve his mid range shot efficiency in the mid range and eliminate those long twos, and also increase some more shots at the rim, I think you're going to see his offensive rating get above 120. And so at that point, he's going to then start challenging Nikola Jokic for MVP. Honestly, last year there was at times, although his offensive rating was as low as it was, 111 is not that great. I mean, there were people chanting MVPs for Julius Randle in the Garden, and and it was very deserving. However, I mean, yes, he's our MVP for the Knicks. However, he could not be MVP for the league because this offensive rating was just way too low. Now, once he gets this above, like I said, he gets it above 120, then you're going to start to see serious considerations for Julius Randle winning the MVP award. Guys, that's my presentation. Please let me know what you think. Do you like it? What should I do to improve it? Just give your comments, like, subscribe. I'll definitely respond to you. Have a good night.